FeedTrader has built a total recruiting solution for both employers and agency recruiters that will vastly increase placements while saving time. Imagine an online platform that allows employers to efficiently screen for the best agency recruiters based on competencies and price before you ever have to pick up the phone. And imagine the same online platform allowing agency recruiters to access employer clients looking to pay fees for recruiter assistance, and easily build personalized split-fee recruiter teams within our over 3,000 agency recruiter network, and market hot candidate profiles confidentially. Both employers and agency recruiters have access to all of our state-of-the-art recruiting tools, such as FeedTrader's job broadcasting, activity management, resume database, and more. And all of these tools are integrated right into your FeedTrader account. Rather than managing multiple tools with different products, why not access FeedTrader's total recruiting solution in one streamlined account? FeedTrader is a placement-making machine and is becoming the preferred medium for employers and agency recruiters to quickly fill jobs. In the staffing industry, that's what it's all about. Whether you are an employer or an agency recruiter, join for free today and take a look at what FeedTrader can do for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ryan Larry from RecruitingBlogs.com. Thank you all for joining us today on our How to Build Your Recruiting Business Leveraging a Split Network webinar. Today's webinar is in partnership with FeedTrader, who you can see some information about FeedTrader there on the screen. Currently, they have over 4,300 recruiters that are registered, and today we're going to learn about how you can leverage a split network in general. We would like you to check out FeedTrader. We're going to share some information on their network as well, and how you can leverage their network and build some trusted circles around split networks in building your recruiting business. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get the call started. We have a lot of great information, and on the call today we have one of Recruiting Blog's own. He's a veteran of Recruiting Blog since the very beginning, Jerry Albright. You can see his intro there on the screen. He has his own search group, professional search group, that he founded back in 1998, so he's 14, 15 years or so into the business on his own, and his business is thriving, which is why we have him on the call today. Jerry, welcome to the call.
Hi, Ryan. Happy to be here. How's it going?
It's great, and glad to have you here. Jerry, before we get started, let's go ahead, if you could, and give everyone your story, your background, how you got started in recruiting.
Sure.
Before we get into split networks.
Sure. I think everybody loves to tell their story, and I'm happy to share mine. Got my start in recruiting back in 1987. And at that time, well, frankly, I'd never even heard of recruiting. I saw an ad in the paper that I think the qualifications were enthusiastic, motivated, and that was about it. So I thought, hey, that's me. It was an IT staffing company, and we recruited almost exclusively for direct placements. It was your typical bullpen style agency, what you hear about, you know, and folks talking about old school recruiting. Well, that was it. You know, we had card files and pink sheets of every candidate that we interviewed, and you know, over the years we gradually got into contract staffing in IT, and in the late 90s, 98, I decided it was time for me to go start my own company. Since then, we've grown every year. We now have an in-house team of 4 recruiters, as well as a pretty good-sized group of recruiters that we work with in doing splits. And I'm also, over the last several years, have used a tool that I founded. It's, and not to get into a big ad here, but Verbal Summary. It adds an audio play button to the top of the resume. So when my clients get a resume from me, they just click the button and get to listen to the guy talk about his background for a couple minutes. So that's me.
And that's Jerry. So as many of you know, Jerry is a longtime member of RecruitingBlogs.com. It contributes a lot to a lot of the discussions that are up there, mostly around building your business. and how to handle and control your business. And so that's what we want to focus on today. But before we do that, Jerry, I think you're famous, especially being on the Recruiting Animal Show and dealing with that. Let's talk about your biggest pet peeve. Let's break the ice here before we get started. What is Jerry Albright's biggest recruiter pet peeve?
Well, you know, I've thought about this the last couple of days, trying to come up with, you know, what bugs me. And I think that I'm kind of a guy that goes through life not really bothered by too many things. But in knowing that I had to come up with something, it's either a blog post that is really a spam ad. That really bugs me. I think it bugs everybody, but I'm pretty vocal about it. Also, what bugs me is this constant barrage of people telling all of us recruiters that we need to keep pursuing all of these new early adoption social media tools. And frankly, when you really shake it all out, the folks pushing those trends aren't really even in recruiting anymore. Those are my pet peeves, Ryan.
You know, and I don't have to remind people, I don't think, where the question and answer box is. A lot of the questions are coming in already saying amen to that, and so we have some agreement. So with that, let's go ahead and take advantage of the momentum and get started here.
Okay.
Split networks. That's what we're talking about today. A lot of people talk about split networks. There's a lot of companies out there that do split networks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of questions around how to leverage a split network, how to be successful using a split network, and you and I spoke the other day about this. And I want you to explain first your definition of a split network, because it's very different, I think, than what other people, other recruiters out there, how they view a split network. So let's start there. What is your definition of a split network? And beyond that, what motivated you to build your business leveraging a split network, because that is a significant part of your business?
Sure. I have to say that I think of when I'm thinking of doing splits, I really look at the guys and girls, I don't know if you can say girls anymore, ladies, women, the folks that I work with, you know, they're really kind of part of our team. We're a team, and we have such a level of trust and professionalism within us that, you know, many of the folks that I do splits with, they're also doing splits with each other, and it's kind of like a community. It really is. But how I got into my first split placement business was years ago. Before I started my own company, I went to work with another firm, and at that time, I was the guy starting an entire recruiting desk. There weren't internal recruiters there. It was just me. Right off the bat, I jumped onto the split network that they used and met a couple of recruiters that to this very day I still work with. So we're partners, we're a team. It's almost as if they're working in the same office with me. So that's what I think of as a split network, is really your team of people that you can count on to partner up and take care of your customers.
So now what about your motivation behind building that split network? So, and let me preface this by saying, why not collect the fee for yourself, right? You have the job orders, you have your clients, you have your candidates. Why not collect that fee for yourself? Why do you want to split these fees with other people if you can make more money without a split?
Hey, that's a great question, and I imagine I probably thought of it that way 20 years ago.
And you know what?
Hey,
before you answer that, I should say, not making more money without a split network, but the perception that you can make more money rather than using a split network.
Well, one recruiter just simply can't fill all the jobs that are on his desk. That's just a simple fact. And your best place to make a placement is always with your current customer. And if your customer needs 5 different kinds of people, I doubt any one person has that kind of synergy. And so you magnify your ability to service your customer. It's really black and white. I don't know if that's really answering your question, but the number one reason I'm doing it is for sales. And, you know, I've tried to total up my, I guess, career to date splits, and I've probably done $1 million in split placements with different recruiters.
Mm-hmm. So now let's look at that $1 million. So you've done $1 million in split placements since you
roughly.
started.
I mean, if I looked at, I mean, it might be 825. It might be $1.1 million.
Okay, we'll just round it to $1 million.
Roughly.
Right?
More than
round it to
two.
$1 million. There you go. So we'll round it to $1 million. That's the number you've done in splits. If you have not engaged in a split network, where does that leave you in that number?
I would think that it has a bigger impact in that sometimes placements are critical. There are times when you're recruiting for a customer, and if you're the guy that makes that placement, then you get the gold star. And so it's helped me keep customers that even if down the road I don't do another split placement with that company, it still leaves that door open for me to be the person that they go to. So it would be hard to quantify where I would be without ever doing split placements, right, because sometimes placements are strategic.
Sure. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do you begin to use a split network. And again, you and I spoke about this in the past, and most recently just a few days ago, around how do you build that circle of trust around your recruiters. So let's start with if someone who's on the call, which I'm assuming most people are not part of a split network, or they've tried a split network and have failed at it, or who haven't had any luck with a split network.
Yeah.
How can they reverse that? How do they begin to use a split network the proper way? How can they set themselves up for success?
Yeah, I think this is a good question, and it as I was thinking about this earlier and getting my notes together, you have to know what your strengths are as a recruiter. We're either the account developer person, or we're the sourcer recruiter person. Now, many of us that have been at it long enough, we're full desk people. So we recruit, we do the sales, we do the closing, but you do have a strength. My particular strength is account management, going out meeting with customers. So if you start off with an inventory of what your strengths are, then you go to a split network like FeeTrader, and you're going to seek out the people who fill in the puzzle. If I were to start from scratch right now, and still, I'm always looking for recruiters that are great at sourcing and delivery. I don't need, based on my desk and my company, I don't need to connect with more account developer recruiters. We have plenty of positions. We need the sourcing. So if you know what your strengths are, then you look for recruiters who fill in the blanks for you. Starting with that group of people, then, it just takes time. It's just not a quick thing. I've taken 15 or 18 years to build the group of recruiters that I do splits with, and it's all trial and error. But when you find synergy, and you find those people that work your way, or perhaps you work their way, however you want to look at it, you need to find people that complement your strengths and work the way that you do, so you're both talking about the same things. There's pitfalls as you try to build your split business too. There's quite often some dead ends, and
right,
but you still have to invest that time in getting to know the recruiter, getting to know how they work, build that trust to where you can speak. You have to be able to speak openly about who your customer is, what's going on. It can't be this, well, send me a resume. You can take the name off of it. I'll see if I have that person in my database. You need to get rid of that crowd immediately and work with people who you can say anything to and build based on that.
So that's been a topic of conversation in some of the forums and conversations happening on recruiting blogs this past week. And so some of the questions that we have received in letting people know about the webinar that we're holding today,
yeah,
has been just that. They're not necessarily looking for the theory, right, of a split network. Theory meaning if I join a split network, I'm going to make 47 placements this year. What they're more looking for is exactly what you're just saying. I think the biggest challenge is how do you build that trusted inner circle? And I have that slide just coincidentally on the screen at this time. But the challenge most people seem to be having is how do you build that little circle of recruiters within a split network that you know you can go to day in and day out to help make those placements for you?
You start off with, if you were going to start from scratch, which is what we're talking about, find one person that you hook up with personally. You have to have that connection with that person. And then you try one candidate. I mean, it's baby steps. You get one candidate, or perhaps you take one candidate from them if you're the job order guy, and you have to benchmark it at each step. Is that person doing what their half of the deal is? I don't need, if I'm connecting with a recruiter who's going to deliver candidates to me, I don't need to train them on what is a DBA or what's a jQuery developer. I need to find somebody who knows those folks, and when they get on my desk, I expect that the candidate they've sent me has heard about the job, feels they're qualified, and is interested and available. And so you'll run into recruiters that they might just download some resumes from Monster and want to send them to you to see if these are the people that we're talking about. You can't get involved in that. So those are the things to avoid as you move forward with split placements. Not all of the people on any of these networks are making a bunch of placements. Not everybody knows our business.
Right. Now, I want to stay true to the 30 minutes, and I knew this was going to happen. We're getting slammed with questions coming in around the logistics of a split. Yeah, you still have to work. And so what we're going to do, I wanted to go over one more thing, kind of list out the pros and cons. But I'll tell you what, why don't we, if you can keep that to a quick 30-minute snippet, the pros and cons in your view of using a split network, and then what we'll do is let's filter in some of these questions, because I'm sure those questions are also going to stem some conversation over the pros and the cons based off what I'm reading.
Okay. The pros are very simple. You increase your sales. You expand your ability to service your clients. And also, you're able to learn about new trends. You're talking to these other recruiters, so you hear about, a company that's closing down. I mean, you just have a bunch of industry knowledge that's coming to you many times more than just your one personal desk is going to find out. You're not alone. I mean, you are part of a team at that point. And being a part of a team is you learn, you get it's just a sense of camaraderie, and it's great. The cons, you can waste some time. There's no way to avoid it. But also, one of the cons is sometimes you're the guy wasting somebody else's time. And I've been there. I've used my split placement capital, so to speak, and dragged other recruiters down a dead end. So that is a downside of this, is sometimes you're the guy wasting somebody else's time, and it's not cool.
Right. Now let's get into some questions, because we have about 10 minutes left, but I definitely want to hit some of these questions because they're really good.
Yeah.
We have, I'm just going to kind of go down the list. I don't think there's anything we really shouldn't be asking here. Let's just start with one here. How many partners do you have? How many split network partners do you work with where you feel that that's actually compatible to your business?
I was trying to total this up earlier today. I would say 7.
Okay, and that's 7 on a routine basis, or 7 over the length of the year?
Yeah, 7 that we're all go-to people for each other. Yep.
Okay, and that's part of that trusted network that you built. Okay.
And I would say some of those folks, they're only working on stuff that is part of our partnership thing. So those are 7 people that I always know what they're doing, and they always know what I'm working on, and emails back and forth all day long.
Right. Now what about ownership? So there's a couple of questions here. I'm just going to kind of surmise a few of these questions. I'll ask one. My question is very easy. How are you owning the client and or the candidate? So there's 3 or 4 of those questions around candidate ownership, client ownership, do you disclose that information to your partner?
Do I disclose who the client is? Certainly. Who the candidate is? Absolutely. Ownership, I treat all of this in the how would you want people to treat you style. If you sent me a candidate 2 years ago, see, I mean, I keep track of this stuff, so it's put in my database. I would know this is Tom's guy. So forever. On the client side, however, if it's been 2, 3, 4 years, and you know, you're probably going to run into those things in the course of doing business. So that's got a little shorter timeline, but still several years. I don't put a timeline on stuff.
Right.
Maybe some of the network, like FeeTrader, I'm sure that they would have a standard in place, but my standard is, how do you want people to treat you? Which
Right.
is why I only have 7 people that are in my split team.
Sure.
We all think that way.
Right. Now, Scott, are you on the call, Scott?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. So we have Scott on the call. Scott is actually with FeeTrader, and there are some questions coming in regarding the service. I want to give you some time there as well. And if Scott, if any of these questions you cannot answer on the call, just let us know. And what we will do is get that answer to the individuals offline after the call today. So where did that question go? Oh, okay. So Jerry's talking about, or the question was about ownership. Do split networks manage that through written policies for recruiters or clients joining a split network? Is that something that FeeTrader or Split Network would get involved in, or is that something specifically between the recruiter and or client, and you guys are just a broker?
Understood. Well, it's really the prerogative of each of the parties involved, because we don't want to enforce what we think is, you know, an equitable relationship. We do encourage our users to basically use their own agreements, but we do supply one on our resources page, and you don't even have to join. You can find that on our resources page on feetrader.com. That's an agreement that we think is very equitable, and we do encourage users to consider using an agreement, but as Jerry said, many recruiters do not feel the need to do that. They want to build a rapport, they want to be comfortable, they want to do it more on a conceptual handshake, if you will. But it's really, we wanted to leave that to the recruiters, what they're comfortable with, and again, we do supply the document they can use. I can say that in 3 years in operation, and we have over 4,300 recruiters on board, we've, you know, and over 1,000 split deals on the board, on the platform, we've received only 4 complaints in 3 years, and only one of which was dealing with a non-payment, if you will. So we do investigate that, and we have removed that particular member based on our investigation. But again, it is infrequent, but it is, you know, a little due diligence goes a long way.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen much, Ryan. I think that's a big misconception in recruiting, is that the other recruiter is a screwball.
Right.
And I think for the most part, we're all pretty good people. And if you make a placement with someone, you want to make another one. In my whole career of split placements, I've only run into that situation one time, and that's when someone else got the check and was to send me my half. So only one time in, you know, hundreds of placements. So it doesn't concern me.
Okay. So we have a couple of questions regarding potential red flags, and so I see Daryl's on the call. Daryl, thank you for joining. He's a member of Recruiting Blogs. If your potential split partner will not disclose the client, is that a red flag that you should walk away from doing a split with that individual? And there's a couple of questions that are not necessarily that question, but around red flags. What are some red flags, I guess, that you should look out for in identifying a good split partner?
Yeah, on that question, you have to trust your instinct here. I think recruiters are successful because we go with our gut instinct. I think there's enough opportunity out there that if there's one recruiter that's not going to tell you who their customer is, that then leads to, well, send me the candidates that you have, and I'll see if we already have them in our database. next thing you know, you're not making a placement there anyway. So I'd move on.
Right. Okay. Now, this may or may not be, I don't think this is related to the split network in general, but I think the overall process, not all search firms handle candidate experience in the same manner. So how do you monitor that?
Well, again, that goes back to people that work with the marketplace the same way you do. And so as you build you would want to find the people that treat candidates the same way that you do. I know that's kind of a simple answer, but that is the simple answer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to build a business doing anything unscrupulous, for sure.
Yeah, so you just have to trust your gut instinct and find the recruiters that do the same thing that you do, because there's all different ways that us recruiters work. And so you find people that swim in your school, so to speak, and it flows pretty well.
I agree. And Scott, we have a couple of questions that I want to ask you regarding FeeTrader, the tool itself that we have coming in here. A lot of this is around, again, if you can't speak about any of this, please just defer the question and we will get that answer offline to the individual. So does I guess this is around split fees. Does FeeTrader take any portion of the split fee during the transaction?
Yeah, absolutely not. We don't take any portion. 100% goes to the recruiters that are involved with the deal. No brokerage fees of any sort.
Cool.
Okay. And can candidates apply directly to my jobs on FeeTrader? And does that connect to the split network, between the two recruiters?
Sure. Well, what's unique about FeeTrader is when you do post a job, you can post it to the split network and or to candidates directly. And all of our jobs do appear on over 25 major job boards automatically. So we get tremendous traction on our job posts to candidates. So yes, it's your choice though. Do you want to put it to the split network, to candidates, or to both? And you definitely have that option.
Okay. And this goes to the makeup of your split network, Scott, at FeeTrader. Is this just U.S. based, or do you have recruiters overseas as well, specifically in the UK?
We definitely do. We are 98% U.S. based. So for most intents and purposes, U.S. based requirements are what's present on our site. We do intend to grow and be more global. However, at the moment, the usefulness factor will decrease as you leave the U.S.
Okay. And let's see what else we have to do. A time check here. We've got about a minute left, and so in respect for everybody's, that's it. We've had fun. Let me do one more question, and let's pick out a good one here. Let's do two more. Let's do one for Scott, and then Jerry will have another one for you. Scott, this goes to FeeTrader directly. Recruiters that are part of the split network, are they able to market candidates confidentially? So I'm assuming, and I apologize if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that means, do they have to disclose the candidate's information, or can they just, as in general agency world, remove the information and market it that way until there is an interest?
Yes, there's definitely a candidate marketing feature on FeeTrader. It's very easy to use. Basically, you post a summary of your hot candidates, and of course encrypt it, and it doesn't have to be a full resume, just the relevant keywords, and that is keyword searchable to our other 4,300 recruiter users, and we have just over 400 employer users. They can search that database, and when they are interested in one of your candidates, they'll reach out to you to negotiate either a split fee or a full fee if it's an employer.
Okay, great. And Jerry, let's end this on one question for you. I think this is a good question. Well, a whole bunch more just came in. Hang on.
Bring it on.
let me pull your question back up.
I think a half an hour was too short, man.
Yeah, we should do an hour. So Scott, something you said just perked up a few questions here. But Jerry, this is a good one I think to end on. What percentage of recruiters you work with are national and in your own geographic market. So the reason I wanted Jerry to bring this one up to you is because you and I had a conversation yesterday, which I thought was fantastic, on how you strategically place your split network recruiters in different geographies that you physically are not. Can you talk about that and explain your process there, and then we'll wrap it up from there?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was my strategy from the beginning. I think now that I think about it, how it developed was I would reach out to say a recruiter in Indianapolis that worked in that area because I had a customer in Indy and I didn't have quite the resources over there. And so, yeah, my recruiters are not all sitting in Fort Wayne with the Fort Wayne candidate database and marketing to the Fort Wayne people. So you need to spread out throughout whatever your geographic market is, you bet.
Okay, and so how do you do that? Let's just take another 30 seconds to go through that. How do you physically do that? You use an example where you had somebody in Michigan, I believe it was. Can you share that?
Several times to find recruiters, I have just gotten on the internet, Google, and search for recruiters that appear to be working in a certain area and call and introduce myself. One I met from recruiting blogs. So it's really just case by case. If you want to find a recruiter in Cleveland, it's pretty easy. And
right.
I would stay away from calling a recruiter at the bigger national staffing firms, and call the recruiter that, you know, it might be Ryan Leary Associates. You know, call Ryan. You know what I mean? Pick that recruiter that you think is probably the recruiter like you in the city that you need to provide for your customer in. It's very easy.
Right. Now, Scott, we'll just keep adding one or two more questions here, but let's just make this the final say here. So when Jerry's answering this question, more questions are coming in around functionalities on searching in FeedTrator and finding recruiters based off of location, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a functionality that a recruiter will have to go in? They can search out recruiters in specific geographies?
Not exactly. You would need to either find them through their job posts or them find you through your job post to the split network. So it's not as if we have a directory, just because there are some confidentiality issues there, and we just wanted it to be a voluntarily, you know, provide who you are type of platform, and that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was on FeedTrator earlier, it's pretty easy to see who the recruiters are that would work with a customer in Atlanta or Indianapolis. I mean, chances are, if you're working on a position in Atlanta, 9 times out of 10 you're an Atlanta recruiter. Or maybe maybe 7 out of 10. But it'd be very easy to do.
Definitely, definitely. It's just not in a directory form.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, guys, we are at a time where a couple minutes past the 30 minutes, so I want to try to stay as true to as possible. So, Scott, thank you very much for the
I'm bummed out, man.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going.
We can definitely do it again. We will have some more information out for everybody shortly. And Scott, thank you very much for partnering with us on this. And for everybody on the call today, if you are not already a member, if you just recently signed up through the promotions, etc., FeedTrator has been kind enough to give all Recruiting Blog members who are new members of FeedTrator to an upgrade to the silver package. Scott, is that correct?
The silver package through 2012 for all new upgraders on FeedTrator. So if you did not register from that link that Recruiting Daily provided, Recruiting Blogs provided to you, the confirmation link email, you can still take part in it. You just need to email info@feedtrator.com. Again, info@feedtrator.com, and put in the subject webinar silver, and we'll get you upgraded through 2012, in fact, so just over 2 months.
Okay. And we will we'll also be sending out information to everybody on the call about, you know, shortly after the call you will receive that link as well, so you can always go back in and do that if you have not. Once again, thank you to Scott. Jerry, of course, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And
yeah,
everyone on the call.
Thank you both.
You bet. See you later.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you for coming out.